Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Lily, and I'm so happy that you are here with me today. In today's video, we are going to make some really fun and cute and vibrant and colorful journaling cards. And they can also be used as toppers for greeting cards. I love this look of the jelly print with the design, and I'm going to show you how we do it. So these are samples that I made ahead, and I'm gonna walk you through the process. These are so much fun, and guess what I used? I am going to use my Faux Gelli plate. Now, I have a video that I put out a couple years ago where I show you how to create your own faux jelly plate, and I will link that video down below. And the reason I'm using this, and now this is a baggie that I have had for quite some time, and I keep it handy. In fact, it was within reach because I could not find my actual jelly plate. But because I first started out using this hack, I am going to continue because I enjoy it just as much as the regular jelly plate. Now, I did have this foam in the large baggie, but see how it has those like indentations or those ridges, which I usually don't mind, but I wanted a more solid and flat surface. And the reason why I even have, for example, what I'm using here in this baggie is just a felt square that has been cut down to size. And that's just to add more stability to the bag so it doesn't wrinkle up on me. That's really basically why. I know I've had some viewers comment and say that they've taped the baggie down, which is great. That's also a great idea. But this works for me just fine. And so this is what I am going to use to create a background on the journaling cards. And I've selected my favorite colors. And you can kind of tell these are my favorite colors because if you look back at my videos, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I tend to stick to these colors. These are my go-to colors, the teal, turquoise, and that chartreuse / lime green with a hot pink. Yeah, those are my favorite colors. And you can tell because of my jewelry too. I'm using two different types of papers today. One of them is a heavy weight white cardstock, and the other is Strathmore, I think that's right, Strathmore mixed media paper. In the end, it really doesn't matter what type of substrate you use. I grabbed these two because they were handy. That's the honest truth. They were within reach, and so I'm like, come here, baby, I'm going to use you. And there is really nothing to the jelly printing. I am a super basic, beginner, simple type of jelly printer. There are so many wonderful people out there that are so talented when it comes to jelly printing. I stick to the basics. I love that messy, painty, artsy type of look. And you can see here, it picked up some of that coral paint that I had used from previous projects. And I like how that, excuse me, I like how that lifted from the baggie. I'm going to pull another print, and it's almost magical because you don't know what you're going to get. And I love that painterly effect that is left behind, almost like old world. Do you know what I mean? Like antique. As if it's been through the elements and it's been weathered, and all of those layers of paint are slowly revealing because of the time that has passed. That's what I like. Oh. It wasn't until, did you just see what I did? It wasn't until I started working that I realized that my jewelry matched my acrylic paints. And I tend to use different brands of acrylic paints. Now, I have used, these are fairly inexpensive. And I have used some that are under $1. I don't recommend those. I've used those before, and so these are my favorite. They're the Folks Art, and even that Martha Stewart one that I have there. Gosh, that one is old, but it's still good. Yeah. And I use that one a lot. I'm surprised it's lasted for so long. So here we go, just pulling some prints, and look at this. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, acrylic is like a plastic, and so when it dries like plastic. And I thought it was pretty cool the way it lifted off of the baggie, and I'm just going to cut it off. But I like it. I thought that was a pretty cool effect. It's too bad I didn't have a larger sheet of cardstock, because then it would have probably adhered to the cardstock, which would have been great. But I like that, and I like how it has like a somewhat satiny finish to it on the right hand side versus the more matted look to the left. Yeah, I really like that. And I know some of those edges are lifting. That doesn't bother me at all. This is, you know, we're playing, we're experimenting, we're having fun, which is that's the most important part. If you're not having fun creating, then you need to move on to the next project until you find what brings you happiness. And this to me is super fun. I can jelly print for days. I wonder where my jelly plate is. I have no idea. No idea, you guys. Because remember, I've talked about it before. I know, same old story. But when I moved out last year, I just threw things in boxes. So I'm now just slowly going through my boxes and reorganizing. But I think organizing and going through our things is just a never-ending chore. Okay, so we are going to make some mark making with these great little tools that I found. You guys won't believe where I picked these up. They have silicone marking tools specifically for jelly printing and for making marks on your projects. These I picked up at Hobby Lobby in the baking section. Oh my gosh, yes. And the reason I grabbed them was because I think they were 50% off. They're normally super inexpensive anyway, but I paid half of the super inexpensive price. And I think it was only a couple dollars for 4 or 5 of these tools. I guess they're for baking and decorating. I'm not a baker. I am not a cake decorator, but I'm a jelly printer. And so, yeah, and I like to get my hands messy. Yep, that's me. So these are perfect, and I'm so happy. So now, when you go shopping, when you physically walk into a shop, do you walk around the other aisles? Whether it be Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby or just any, even Walmart or, anywhere where they have crafting supplies. I walk around every aisle. Of course, if I have the time, I'll walk up and down every aisle. And it's so much fun to find products that you can use in interesting ways, different ways, such as these. And I just happened to be walking down the bakery aisle and I saw these and I immediately knew what to do with them. So that was a nice little find. So, and they work great, you guys. So if you've not used them, these are, if you have not used a tool to make marks on your background pages with the jelly print, this is a nice little tool. An inexpensive way to make these beautiful designs. And I have one design that I favor over all of the others when I am mark making on my jelly prints, and that is the heart. The heart is my favorite shape. I believe I've mentioned that many times before. It really is. I love the heart. And I try to get creative with the heart, and I added a little ribbon to it, and then some flames coming up at the top, and then some scalloped edges. So you can get as creative as you like. So yeah, and these are especially great to use on the actual Gelli plate because it has that silicone tip. It won't damage your Gelli plate. It's gentle, it's delicate enough to use it on the Gelli plate. But perfect to use even on the faux Gelli plate, you guys. Look at that. So yeah, so much fun. And when I was making the samples a few days before, I spent hours just pulling one print after the other. So you know, if you've tried this, you could go for hours. You're just pulling print because it is fun to see what the new design, or you know, what the result is going to be, because it's completely different. And here's my attempt at drawing a guitar, just super simple, but I think it pulls really nice. And I did others that I forgot to show on video, but I drew little houses and flowers. So you can get really creative with your mark making. There's another piece of that really cool acrylic, dried acrylic paint. I like it. It was fun to touch. And I held on to it. I'm like, could I use this? No, I'm not going to reuse that. So there's my guitar shape. And the nice thing about this is you can further embellish and outline your designs to make it pop from the page. But the main purpose of this right now is to create a background on these journaling cards. And one of the things I totally forgot to do was to show you how I use these journaling cards, because I like to do that. If I'm going to take the time to show you how to make something, I also want to show you how to use it. But I forgot, because 40 minutes later I was still recording this video, and I tried to keep it under 30 minutes, you guys. But I'm telling you, this is so much fun to do. So my idea was to also show you how you could use these as card fronts. Now, long time ago, I was making cards, and I still do. I love making all occasion greeting cards. I started out with Stampin' Up! A long time ago, and then even before Stampin' Up!, I was making my own greeting cards. And then when I was introduced to Stampin' Up!, I'm talking 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I enjoyed it so much. And so I love making cards. And then after, when I left Stampin' Up! Many years ago, like 10 years ago, I was still making greeting cards, but I learned a lot as far as creating greeting cards. Oh, let me show you really quick, or let me tell you really quick what I did is I just wanted to pull as much paint from the plastic bag as I could, so I just grabbed a sheet of copy paper and pulled all of that beautiful color. And so these are great because I like to use sheets like this in collage. So I'll just set that aside for it to dry. And do I continue doing this? I don't know, but I could. I could keep going on for hours and hours. Once I was done with making greeting cards, I wanted to get messy, and I've always wanted to just keep adding more and more to my cards. And when I started making cards with Stampin' Up!, as beautiful as they were kind of plain, and I wasn't content. They were nice, and I learned tons, but I wanted to keep adding more. And so when I learned about mixed media, you guys, oh my gosh, it took my card making to a whole new level. And so years ago, it evolved, and I just started making mixed media cards and backgrounds, and so that's what happened there. And then when I got into junk journaling, I started making mixed media junk journal cards. Yes. And I'm still adding some more details to this. This is where that neon pink comes into play. So I'm just rolling it on my Gelli plate, and I grabbed some bubble wrap just to add that little pop of color, and the little bubble wrap adds texture to it, even more than what is already there. But I think a little pop of pink is beautiful with those teal colored backgrounds. So just a little bit of that. I had some of these that, if you saw the flip through of the most recent video, and I'm going to link it below. A couple weeks ago, I released a video of a flip through of 4 junk journals that I've recently completed. And I show you how in those journals at the very beginning, I insert one of these types of journaling cards in the front cover. And so the link will be down below if you want to take a look at those flip throughs, and that will show you how to use or how to insert these journaling cards in a journal. You just slide it into a pocket, and you can use it as an embellishment in your journal, or you can document on the reverse side. Totally up to you. So, and I finished them. I went through all of those cards because I used the last 4 in those junk journals. And I'm going to make these a little bit different by embossing on them. So I will show you how I emboss on these cards. But the ones that I used in the junk journals, I actually used word die cuts that I adhered to the front of these cards, which was great. I loved it. But I thought I could apply a different technique. Instead of using a word die cut, I could emboss, and it turned out fabulous. And I'm trying to remember, I think a couple of the journaling cards that I added in the junk journals were also embossed. I think that's where I got the idea, because I ran out of the ones that had the die cut words, and I couldn't find any more. So I had to get creative. So right now I am just going to make sure that these are completely dry. Normally I would make these maybe a day or 2. I create a ton of backgrounds and let them dry overnight, so that when I outline the design with my jelly roll pens or my paint pens, that the nib isn't damaged by the acrylic paint. So I want to make sure I don't ruin the jelly pens or the paint pens. So I'm making sure that these are completely dry. And I'm holding this at a distance, so I'm not holding my heat gun too close to the cards. I just want them to dry. But look at how beautiful they look. I just love it. Now, I could have also done this technique on a full sheet of cardstock and then cut it down to size. But because I knew I was going to do some mark making with the hearts and those designs, I don't think I would have been able to do it. It would have been a big heart and a big guitar, so I wanted to keep it small. So these are the paint pens that I like using, and they are Dilutions paint pens, and I really, really like these. And all I did is I took the paint pens and outlined the shapes, the marks that I made with the pen, just to, like I said earlier, just to kind of bring out that design and make it more dimensional. And these work by, as any other paint pen would, you kind of push that nib down to get that paint to flow. That green one didn't flow as quickly as I wanted it to, and for the sake of time, I just went to the next pen. So they are really nice. Just a quick outline. So I hope you're able to see that. And you can go as detailed or as simple as you like. With more time, I could have kept adding more patterns and designs to it. But I thought I would keep it simple, just for the purpose of the video. So let me know if you enjoy jelly printing. I know I'm still trying to convince my sister to try it. She refuses. Everybody, comment below if you want my sister to try it. You know what I would like to do is I'd like to invite my sister over and have like a guest, craft with me. And I think jelly printing might be the way to get her to try it. So it's in the works, you guys. If you'd like to see something like that and maybe encourage her to give it a try, let me know below. Oh, I don't know if she's going to like that I'm putting her on blast like that. No, that's okay. All for fun. The one pen that is not working very well is my black paint pen. And it's because I used it when the acrylic paint was still wet. And so I ruined the nib. So I've held on to it because I'm trying to figure out a way to rescue it. If you have any ideas, let me know. I wonder if there are nib replacements. I should look into that too. And that's it, just going over it. This was so much fun. So much fun to do. It's like coloring. But yes, I love the background. I love how they turned out. So I'm not going to get into a lot of detail with these paint pens because I want to move on to the next step and show you without taking up too much of your time. But these are the ones that I had made in advance, or the sample that I had made a few days before. Again, the heart shape, and you could see that flower on the right hand side. Now the paint pens did work much easier on these because these have been drying for a couple days now. And so the pens seem to glide on that paper. And the other thing you could use, if it's completely dry, you could use Sharpie pens and Gelli Roll pens, which I really like. The Gelli Roll pens, they're really fluid, and some of them are even dimensional. So if you use the Gelli Roll pens, you just have to draw your design and then set it aside so it completely dries so that you don't smear the ink pen. So I thought I was done with my paint pens, but obviously not. You guys, let me tell you, squirrel moment. This past Saturday, I was in Salt Lake City because my daughter, Devin, my middle daughter, and my son-in-law, my youngest daughter's husband, they both ran in a marathon. And it was their very first marathon, you guys. Oh my gosh, it was so exciting. I am so proud of the two of them. Can you imagine? 26.2 miles. That is serious commitment. I am so proud. I just thought I'd put that out there because I was on the sidelines cheering for my family. So that was so much fun. So much fun to watch them to watch them run. And they did it in the snow, in the rain, in the hail, it was in the mid 30s, and that's how they ran. So I just wanted to put a little shout out there to my daughter and my son-in-law. So proud of them. Okay, we are going to now do some embossing because we're not done yet. And this is one of my favorite stamp sets by American Crafts. And this is a design by Kelly Creates. I did purchase these at an American Crafts warehouse sale a couple years ago, and I bought several different Spanish stamps. I'm going to use this one that reads El cielo es el límite, which translates to the sky's the limit. So I'm going to use the same one on as many as I can get done in this video. So I'm using some Versamark Embossing Ink, getting that nice and saturated onto that polymer stamp. And then carefully position it. I'm going somewhat lower center. And I'm going to we're using up our stash, you guys. This is gold embossing powder that I have had for many years. And it is old Stampin' Up, but you know what? It works just fine. So I'm going to use it up, and it's almost gone. So you don't want to burn your fingers, so you can just grab a clothespin to hold it away from your hands. Heat the back a little bit so that the powder so the heat is distributed evenly. So once you see that change of color, that's when the magic happens. El cielo es el límite. The sky's the limit. It really is, you guys. Don't be afraid to try new things. Look at how beautiful that looks. And this one I especially love. Even though I didn't do any mark making on this one with my silicone bakery marking tool, it still came out so beautiful. I love it. Now, I also took some of the Versamark ink and I added it to some of the edges. I normally do this with gold paint or gold wax. And this was an experiment, and I thought, what if I try it with the Versamark and just kind of rub it on the edges and then sprinkle some powder and emboss it? And I like the way that turned out. I keep my embossing powders in these acrylic drawers, and that has been super good for me. I like the way that is, especially the colors that I'm using most often. So I have the white and the gold that are loose in their little drawers because I'm using those. I'm using those up a lot more than all the others. And so it's perfect because I don't have to fuss putting them or pouring the powder back into the little jars. And, you know, I've had it like this for a couple years now, and nothing has happened to the powder. It doesn't clump up. It hasn't dried. And you can see here, it's melting just fine. So I love that look of the gold distressed edge. So that's really nice. I really like that. Should I have done some on the bottom? Not sure. Looking at it now on the screen, maybe it could have used a little bit at the bottom to balance it out a little bit, but I still like the way it turned out. The embossing also looks really nice over the guitar image or the heart image. So I'm going to do that too. I'm just going to place it right over. The other cards that I've done before that are in the junk journals, I used black embossing powder. And it looked so nice. Loved it. I could have gone either way. There are so many options. There's no right or wrong. You use the colors that you want. You know, if If the turquoise and these teal colors are not your jam, then you use the colors that make you happy. Because in the end, it's your project. So you use what makes you happy. Right now, these colors and the gold, it makes me very happy. So loving the way that turns out. And looking at these cards now, I may not be done. I may go back and add maybe some tabs at the top, maybe some stitching. I don't know. I'm just getting started, you guys. I've had projects in the past where I've called them done, and then when I come across them after a few months, you know, I add even more. So, you know, you can keep it simple or you can keep adding those layers and embellishments. Because the ideas will always just keep coming and your projects will eventually evolve. I was talking about having no fear and trying out new things. And I say that because it's been easy for me my entire life to explore new ideas and to try new things. I've had not too many things hold me back from venturing out and going outside of my comfort zone. Very easy for me to do that and challenge myself and try new things. But I realize that it's not that way for everybody. And this is not just in crafting, but in all aspects of your life. And remember, if we are talking about just crafting, and you have, you're afraid of trying new things because you think you're going to mess things up, I think that's the fun of it. It's creating and experimenting, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. I think that's the fun part. And if it doesn't work out, then at least you've tried it. And you can move on from there and learn from those mistakes. Sometimes the best creations are happy accidents. So what I'm trying to say is, try new things, you guys. Be brave. Use up your supplies. I know that before in the olden days, I would be like, oh, I don't want to use it because I love it. And if I make a mistake, I've wasted it. No, we don't waste anything. We've got hordes and hordes of supplies, you guys. If you're like me, we've got tons of supplies. So we can afford to experiment with the things that we have. Oh, look, I completely forgot that I'm using black embossing powder. I'm so glad that I did this, to show you the different look between the gold and the black. Completely forgot I did this, and I like it. I like both of them. I love the gold and I love the black. So see how I have to pour it back in there? No big deal. I just put it back into its little jar. But I may end up creating or making room in one of those acrylic drawers for the black, because I do use the black a lot too. And this embossing powder is by Recollections, and I think that brand is at Michael's. I do have one that I really, really love. It's by Nuvo, and it is what was it called? It's black, but it has a little bit of glitter in it. And there was one year where I went through an entire jar of that black glitter by Nuvo, because I used it for Christmas cards. And can you believe I went through an entire jar of embossing powder? I appreciate all of you joining me and sticking around to watch this video. I appreciate you very much. And if you are still here and you would like to receive some happy mail, I am happy to share some of these cards with you. So if you comment below, I will select a couple random comments, and I will I'll reach out to you so that then you can reach out to me and I can send you some happy mail. Yes, so if you would like to receive a couple of these cards, just let me know down below, and I'm happy to send some your way. It is my way of saying thank you for being a part of my YouTube channel and for being here and supporting my journey. Because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here, you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, sending you big, big hugs. If you are new to my channel, I'm so happy that you came across my channel. Let me know how you found me. Was it a recommendation? Did it come up in your homepage? Did someone tell you to visit me? Let me know down below if you are new, and if you are enjoying my content, I'd love to have you here. All you have to do is subscribe. One of my favorite things to do is happy mail, and every once in a while in different videos I tend to choose and select a few of my subscribers and to send you out some happy mail. So yes, I think it makes it more fun that way. So again, thank you for being here. So on this one, I didn't want to do the black on the edges. I wanted to stick with the gold. And I tried something different here where I was a little bit more light-handed on the edges, just to give it a little bit of gold. And love the way that turned out. The gold with the black and all of those colors. It just looks so artsy to me, you guys. I wish I would have had some card bases to show you how awesome these would look as greeting cards. But if you've ever made cards before, you have the idea. You make a card base and then you stick this on the very front and voila, you've made a card. And I like to mass make too. So I don't just make one or two, I make a lot of them. Let me know if you're enjoying this content, you guys. I'm stepping away for a second. I have to plug this in because it's gonna die. Okay, I plugged it in. Saved. Love, love, love how this one turned out. I think I'm going to make more like this without making any marks on the cards and just doing the jelly printing on the background and then doing the stamping or the embossing on top. I think I'm going to make a ton more and maybe vary the phrases that I'm going to use. I also like doing this. I've done something similar with greeting cards by adding the Frida, the homage to Frida stamp set. I stamp the Frida and then fussy cutter and then embellish her and then glue her onto these mixed media backgrounds. So I've done that. So there are so many things you can do with these backgrounds. More that you can leave them blank, or you can embellish so many different ways with die cuts and word stickers. Yeah, in fact, I have some that I just added to my Etsy shop. And these are greeting cards. They're mixed media greeting cards with a very similar background technique. The only difference is I didn't emboss and I used texture paste. And then I added the Frida fussy cut image on the front. I've made those before. I have a video where I kind of show you that. Do I? I think I do. But if you want to go take a look at the ones that I just put in my Etsy shop, I will have the link below to my Etsy store, so you can go take a look at those, because I honestly don't remember if there's a video or not. If you want to see a video on those that I have on my Etsy shop, just let me know, and I'll work on doing one of those, which is similar to this, except adding texture paste to it with a stencil. Love how this one turned out. Remember, this is the one that had that chunky piece of paint that was lifted from my faux jelly plate. Super, super cute. That little edge was lifting, and so I just kind of blasted it with a heat gun to try to make it stick, and it looks like it worked. But I didn't want to apply it too close because I don't want the paint to bubble. That's one of the reasons why I was keeping it at a distance. Love how that one turned out. So just a little bit of the gold on the edges, and it looks wonderful. Please let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this and you thought it was fun and it has inspired you to create and to get messy with paint, give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. But here are all the background techniques. Some of them I'm going to leave plain for now. But yes, I'm loving how these turned out. And you could see how after working with both the regular cardstock and the mixed media cardstock, either one is fine. There's no difference in using whatever you have handy. I don't prefer one over the other. They both turned out great. You guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. I know it's a long one, and I appreciate if you stuck with me until the very end. You guys are awesome. Remember, the other video will be linked down below on that hack for the jelly plate. You guys take care and have a great day. Bye!